should be live. Let's see here. Let's take a look-sees. Let's put this up. Hello, everyone. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and just start talking about this article, which, if you guys have paid attention to Kotaku Gaming News, like our good friend Anita Sarkeesian did, because ironically, I actually found this article because it was a Twitter retweet of Anita Sarkeesian and how much disdain she had for Riot Games for being the sexist pigs that everyone knew they were. So let's go and take a look. Inside the culture of sexism at Riot Games. Authored by Cecilia Di Anastasio. This was only posted yesterday at 3 p.m. and it was very odd because by the time I actually had taken a look at it and archived it just in case anything were to happen to it, it had already had 9 people who then saved it on archive. So I'm gonna go right through it. Throughout her 3 years at Riot Games, the company behind League of Legends, Lacey made it her mission to hire a woman into a leadership role. Nothing about capable people into a leadership role, a woman into a leadership role. Lacey had heard plenty of excuses for why her female job candidates weren't Riot material. Some were ladder climbers, others had too much ego. Most weren't gamer enough. I don't even know what that means, but alright. A few were too punchy, don't know what that means either, or didn't challenge convention, a motto you can find in Riot's company manifesto and recruiting materials. Again, this is something I actually have no idea as to what it means, punchy, doesn't challenge convention. I mean, I understand what don't challenge convention means, but whatever. Let's just move on. Across the board, you'd have side by side similar backgrounds, said Lacey, which is not her real name. They want to make sure that they mention. But the leadership team would constantly ixnay any female candidate for leadership. Hiring a woman into a leadership position proved impossible for Lacey, she said, and she left the company in part because of the sexism she'd personally experienced. Seems to be having a small bit of lag issues. Let's take a look. Not audible. Oh, now it seems to be showing well enough. The leadership team would constantly ixnay any female candidate for leadership. Hiring a woman into a leadership position proved impossible for Lacey, she said. And she left the company in part because of the sexism she'd personally experienced. She said her direct manager would ask her if it was hard working at Riot being so cute, which is one of the grossest things I've ever heard. I can't. Not with that kind of fucking commentary. Just had. Was it hard working at Riot because she was so cute? It just screams cringy and uncomfortable and. Ugh. She left Sometimes, she said, he'd imply that her position was a direct result of her appearance. Every few months, she said, a male boss of hers would comment in public meetings about how her kids and husband must really miss her while she was at work. Well, okay, let's be honest for a second. This is a fair comment, especially if, as you'll see later, you're staying late at night to work on things. One day, Lacey conducted an experiment. After an idea she'd really believed in fell flat during a meeting, she asked a male colleague to present the same idea to the same group of people days later. He was skeptical, but she insisted that he give it a shot. Lo and behold, the week after that, he went in, presented exactly as I did, and the whole room was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing." His face turned beet red, and he had tears in his eyes, said Lacey. They just didn't respect women. Maybe he pitches your thing better than you do. I don't know. Maybe. You couldn't really necessarily, well, tell, could you? I'd be impressed. Riot Games, founded in 2006, has become one of the biggest companies in gaming on the back of its sole release, League of Legends. Not its sole release, it came up with a shitty app as well, actually. I think it was a Blitzcrank game that you could play, and it was basically you were trying to save Poros. It was really really bad, but you know what? I played the fuck out of it. So I don't know why I played it. I just did. Which had 100 million monthly players in 2016, with 2,500 employees across 20 offices. Riot is a powerhouse. In 2013, Riot was named one of Business Insider's 25 best tech companies to work for. 2 years later, it made 1.6 billion revenue. Its Los Angeles campus is cushy in a way you'd expect a money-bloated tech company's office to be. It's got a gym, a coffee shop, a cafeteria with free food. What was that? Oh, hello. Uh, in but Riot was named one of Business Insider's 25 best tech companies to work for. 2 years later, it made 1.6 billion revenue. Its Los Angeles campus. Okay, I read that. Employees often stay late to grind out competitive skill points in League of Legends with their Riot family and are communicating on Slack well into the night. Slack, for those who don't know, is a subscription-based, uh, basically a way for people to chat with one another who are usually working on uh, some kind of software project. Usually, I actually used it in college. Women who didn't fit in with Riot's bro culture, a term I heard from over half a dozen sources while reporting the story, say these amenities help make the job bearable for only so long. Yeah, I can't imagine what it's like to have a coffee shop in your job. It must be so miserable. Free food. It says a cafeteria with free food and a LAN cafe. Oh my god, your life is so fucking hard. Over the course of several months, Kotaku has spoken to 28 current and former Riot employees, many of whom came forward with stories that echo Lacey's. Some of these employees spoke on the record. Most spoke anonymously because they feared for their future careers in the games industry, or they were concerned that League of Legends' passionate fan base will retaliate against them for speaking out. Many of those sources painted a picture of Riot as a place where women are treated unfairly, where the company's culture puts female employees at a disadvantage. Other current employees speaking on the record disputed that account, with some top female employees telling Kotaku they had not personally experienced gender discrimination at Riot. Okay, so there's a small little thing that I want to mention. With some top female employees, a little while ago, at the very beginning of this article, they were talking about how Lacey was trying to make it her mission to hire a woman into a leadership role. And I'm confused. How did you talk with top female employees if there weren't any? This is just something that I haven't quite figured out myself, so let's move on. 5 months after we started reporting for this article, days after Riot apparently learned about it, the company added a diversity and inclusion page on its website that says, "We aggressively enforce a zero tolerance policy on discrimination, harassment, and general toxicity. It is incredibly important that our leaders embody this commitment and reinforce this expectation across their teams." The page was added in late May, according to the Wayback Machine. Wayback Machine, nice. But when asked, a Riot representative said the company's roadmap for diversity and inclusion initiatives, including a public-facing definition of gamer, was presented to Riot staff as early as April. Notably, well before Kotaku began its inquiries. Kotaku began its inquiries in December of last year and reached out to Riot leadership mid-May. Why do people feel the need that they need to define gamer in any particular way? Gamer. One who plays games. Good job, everyone. We did it. The page also says, "There is no cookie-cutter template for what a rioter looks like, but women who have worked there said that nothing could be further from the truth. Over the course of reporting this story, we found that many former Riot employees were restricted from talking on the record because of non-disparagement agreements they signed before leaving the company. Those usually they only last for about 3 years, so God forbid you might actually be able to talk about it eventually. But maybe everyone who is talking on Twitter maybe has a bit of an issue. I'm not sure. Let's look into it later." Some say they received severance after speaking to Riot's quote-unquote talent team, with the company calls its human resource team about their experiences at the company. What do you mean what the company calls its human resources team? Like talent? That's what human resources does. I don't even know who said this quote. The bros before host thing is so ingrained even though they claim to be a meritocracy. When contacted by Kotaku for a comment on the details in the story, Riot sent over a lengthy statement. Riot sent over a lengthy statement. Good, I'm dyslexic. Which we've quoted throughout the story. In short, the company said that the anecdotes described in this article are explicitly opposite to its culture. When we encounter any contrary behaviors, we dig in to understand, evaluate, and address, the company said. We have a zero tolerance policy on discrimination, harassment, retaliation, bullying, and general toxicity. I don't necessarily agree with the retaliation thing. I think that's kind of stupid, but, you know, that's a personal thing, I think. Among the people we spoke to, 3 women described being groomed for promotions and doing jobs above their title and pay grade, until men were suddenly brought in to replace them. Interesting. Odd, in fact. Not quite sure how that worked out. Did they get fired or were they moved to a different position? Because these are drastically different things. Both male and female sources have described seeing unsolicited and unwelcome pictures of male genitalia from bosses or colleagues. Ooh, naughty. Nobody likes a dick pic. One woman saw an email thread about what it would be like to, quote, penetrate her. Oh my god. Okay. In which a colleague added that she'd be a good target to sleep with and not call again. How do you do that if you work with somebody? There's a rule about not sleeping with coworkers because of that explicit situation. You don't do it. You don't sleep with somebody and then are forced to see them every single fucking day afterwards. That's how you get fucked over in the end. That's dumb. It's like these people have never fucking had a girlfriend before or ever interacted with a female before. If this is all true, which I can't necessarily corroborate any of it, but hey, I'm not gonna say that it's not true. I don't have any proof to say yes or no. Another said a colleague once informed her, apparently as a compliment, that she was on a list getting passed around by senior leaders detailing who they'd slept with. Two former employees said they felt pressure to leave after making their concerns about gender discrimination known. No, you can't. You can't just leave that. You can't just like say that and then move on to something completely different. You can't say that there was a list being passed around by senior leaders detailing about underlings who they slept with, and then just completely jump into two former employees said they felt pressure to leave after gender discrimination concerns. Like, what? Hold on. That's like one thing and then based in something completely different. You can't just leave that. That's a bit important, I would say. One former male employee said that Riot's bro culture is more pronounced behind closed doors and hurts men too. One of the Riot's male senior leaders regularly grabbed his genitals, the source said, adding, if he walked into a meeting with no women, he'd just fart on someone's face. Ah, yes. Silicon Valley, everyone. Look at it. Revel in its splendor, farting on faces. The bro culture there is so real, said one female source, who said she'd left the company due to sexism. It's agonizingly real. It's like working at a giant fraternity. How do you know? You're a female. You've never been in a fraternity. That's sexist. 80% of the Riot employees are men, according to data Riot collected from employees' driver's license. Driver's license? Not, birth certificate or passports or proof that they, I don't know, work for you? Tax report? Yeah. No? Okay. It's not unusual for a tech or gaming company to struggle with sexism and lack of diversity. Yeah, and guess what? All those gaming companies are fucking run by Democrats. What a thought. In recent years, some studios have tried to reckon with that reality, taking steps to hire more women and making games that showcase more diverse characters, to the chagrin of everyone who plays them. That's not in the article, I just said it. But at Riot, the fundamental values fueling its celebrated culture of, quote, core gamers, also still not a thing. Don't know what that means. And Riot devotees over the past decade may also be the root causes of an ingrained sexism that manifests in both blatant and subtle ways. I don't know what that means either. The author makes a lot of these like open, without substance claims. Like, for example, if this were like a ninth grade English paper, I would circle some of these sentences and be like, explain, red pen, red question marks everywhere, or like right over here, like this, the comment that I was getting upset about before, like this one, I would circle this and be like, and a lot of ends, a lot of question marks, and just this whole thing would just be read with, please continue, don't hop around these fucking thoughts, please, keep one idea. Keep one idea and go with it. But among behemoth tech companies, there's a commonly held belief in the idea of meritocracy. Imagine my shock. Let's hire people who can do the job. I didn't realize that was so controversial. That's the notion that the most talented and deserving employees will rise through the ranks into leadership positions. In theory, it's a no-brainer goal for any workplace. It's a no-brainer goal for anything. But I guarantee you, I could go through your old articles and see that you don't actually believe that. But we'll leave that for another time. The problem of hiring, promoting, and retaining women at tech companies is well documented. Kinda. Source, please. And it's a problem that makes any true meritocracy difficult to attain at these workplaces. At Silicon Valley, based companies like Google and Apple, only a quarter of professional jobs like engineers, designers, and analysts were held by women in 2016, according to a reveal a project from the Center for Investigative Reporting. Why doesn't that sound like a real thing? I'm sorry, that doesn't sound like a real thing. The Center for Investigative Reporting. When it comes to leadership positions, that number is much lower. In the technology field, the quit rate for women is over twice as high as it is for men, according to the study by the National Center for Women and Information Technology. Yes, but why? Okay, so, like, yes, let's say the quit rate for women is over twice as high as it is for men. Why, though? Is it just because sexism in the workplace? I have a hard time believing that, or else I would see many more of these kinds of articles coming forward. But I don't see that, so that must mean that there's something else, getting involved. Is it maybe family? Kids? Ooh, who knows? One report surveying 3,700 women in engineering detailed how women in these fields felt they had fewer opportunities for advancement and a higher rate of feeling undermined by managers. Well, maybe you fucking hit my mic again? Maybe it's time for those women to express these feelings to those managers with some cojones. In books like Lean Out, women in tech detail how the cards are stacked against them from the moment they walk through these companies' glass doors. Anecdotal and the fuck? Where did that come from? What? How did you go from study after study after study to this book, by the way? They don't fit the image of the ideal employee at a tech company. I don't think you guys understand. Let me explain real quick what a tech company is, right? So, a person, a designer, an analyst, or an engineer, will sit down at a desk. Occasionally, will stand up and sit down back at the desk. Congratulations. That is what a tech company is. As a software engineer, that is my life at work. Don't know what an ideal employee is for Silicon Valley, but I don't know if you guys really want to get involved with tech companies, because it's not this cafeteria with free food shit. It's not a LAN cafe. It's not all like that. Sure, some companies might have it. A lot of solution companies I know do have amenities in their businesses and their locations. But for the most part, a tech company job is really like not something that a lot of people can do. You sit at a desk and you kind of just sit in front of a computer and become a robot for 8 to 9 hours a day until you go home, and in my case, sit in front of a computer and become a robot. So, I mean, this comment here, we're not encouraged to pursue STEM at a young age. Yeah, God forbid somebody was like dreaming of going into outer space, or like being a pilot, or being an actor or something like that. Nah, man, we should encourage them to go into STEM, to sit at a desk for 25 years and then retire, and that's about it. That's your life. Really, it's not as glamorous as people think, but whatever. And aren't assessed within the same paradigm set for male employees who played with circuit boards instead of American Girl dolls. Look, I never played with a circuit board. That sounds like how you get electrocuted. Who fucking says this shit? That can cultivate a culture at big tech companies in which the ideal employee, the time-tried model for someone who easily and confidently advances through a company's ranks, is a man. Remember what I just said about tech companies? That is some boring ass shit. You have to be a special kind of person to tolerate that. A lot of people really cannot hold on to the idea that your entire life is in front of a computer. And that's the extent of it all. You go to work, sit. That's it. The fact that Riot has a gym at least encourages these people to be fit. That shit doesn't happen everywhere. It happens only in Silicon Valley, which makes me think that everyone at Silicon Valley in these kind of places are totally obsessed with themselves, their image, their personal whatever. It doesn't sound real. It doesn't sound realistic. It sounds like what what somebody's like ideal job is, but let me tell you that that's not how it works. That's never been how it works, and it will never be the way how it works unless you work at this kind of a company. And that's it. Stories from both men and women who have worked for Riot indicate that the company behind League of Legends also suffers from this trend. When told of these stories, a Riot representative said they detailed behaviors we would not tolerate and would be quick to squash, but they pointed to a common conclusion. Riot's fundamental values, including its ideal vision of the true Rioter and its culture of meritocracy, have created a workplace that permits and even sometimes rewards sexist behavior. I don't know what to say about that, to be honest, because it's been a while since I've had to look at the vision of a true rioter. It's been a while since they rejected my application. Insert sadness here. In her interview at Riot in 2015, one woman was asked to recall her favorite trinket from a 2004 World of Warcraft raid. She had already detailed what games she played and how often she played them. Throughout the hour-long interview, she said her interviewer had been fact-checking her, looking for holes in the story of her gamer upbringing. I was trying to prove that this executive that I wasn't lying about playing games. She said to demonstrate she was a real Riot-style gamer. She recalls wondering in desperation, should I just ask this guy to log on to my World of Warcraft profile? Eventually, she was hired, despite hearing from a confidant later that her interviewer didn't think she had the grit to work there. Okay, please. Please, you motherfuckers. Grit to work there. You are a tech company with a gym and free food in your cafeteria. You aren't edgy, you're not cool. I'll never get hired now, by the way. Another confidant told her that the tone of her interview would never have happened were she a man. Yeah, so fucking tell him off. There are plenty of tech companies out there that will hire people, including women, and it's not a thing. Just stop fucking going to California. Make these people realize that we don't want to tolerate this shit. Maybe if the whole software engineer dream wasn't in California, maybe Alex Jones would still have a fucking platform. Stop enabling these companies. Sorry, I'm getting a little whatever. Working at Riot isn't just about doing a job, it's about enthusiastically participating in the company's culture. What that means, among other things, is that the successful hires across the company ought to be video game fans, and specifically, according to 3 sources with knowledge of Riot's recruitment practices, hardcore video game fans. What does that mean? We want passionate gamers who are talented professionals. No, you want talented professionals who are passionate gamers, you fucking idiots. Read the first line of Riot's hiring page until late June. Loving what you do is mandatory, and you won't fully appreciate a gamer's perspective unless you are one. I'm going to fucking flip. Riot has butchered their own game in the last fucking year, so this is... Every sentence of this is irony, just dripping with it. To the point where streamers who are dedicated to League of Legends don't even play it anymore. So the irony is fucking brutal here. Loving what you do is mandatory, and you won't fully appreciate a gamer's perspective unless you are one. We're not looking for the feedback averse. What? For the adverse feedback? I don't know what that means. You need conviction, passion, and horsepower to excel at Riot. Okay. Those lines are no longer there. Now the page includes the line, "Whatever you play, if you make time to play, you're a gamer," apparently softening Riot's cultural standards for gaming. Sure. Yeah. I just I whatever. According to four sources with knowledge of Riot's recruiting practices, the ideal Rioter image has led the company to turn down a disproportionate amount of women for jobs. How big is your e-peen? I fucking love it. I love that. It's just there too. It's in the center of the fucking article, just there. How big is your e-peen? During hiring, Riot vets whether potential employees will be culture fits. According to three sources familiar with Riot's recruiting practices, Riot focuses on finding what the company calls core gamers who can empathize with League players, and eventually with the grind for competitive skill points. On paper, that makes sense. People who work at Riot need to understand the product they're putting out and the community they're meant to serve. But in practice, four sources say, the company preferencing core gamers when it hires not just game developers, but all of its full time employees, from office managers to finance specialists, means preferencing a certain kind of person. Those sources said that talented women have fallen through Riot's hiring processes because they weren't considered core gamers. What the fuck is a core gamer? I'm starting to get actually like tired of looking at these fucking these comments like core gamer. Okay, what does it mean? What does it mean for Riot? Like even let's go with that, right? What the fuck are you talking about? Which one source described as an excuse. Two sources familiar with Riot's hiring practices say the company checks interviewees' League of Legends stats prior to bringing them on campus for interviews. I hope they check all of my League of Legends names. I hope they're confused. I hope they're interested. I hope when they saw all of my name changes, they were like, this guy is the weirdest motherfucker. We can't hire him. Good. By the way, my name on League of Legends at the moment is Cuban Sugar Daddy. That's Cuban, capital C, Sugar, capital S, and Daddy, capital D. Those sources said that the talented women have fallen through Riot's hiring processes because they weren't considered core gamers, which one source described as an excuse. No shit. Two sources familiar with Riot's hiring practices say the company checks interviewees' League of Legends stats. Okay, got it. Thanks. During the interview process, we often expect writers to try out League of Legends. Bullshit. I had played League of Legends since season 3. I didn't even get an interview. You saying you're gonna let random people in the interview process try out League of Legends? Kill yourself. And not actually, by the way. And for some, league development roles require familiarity with the game, but we're not evaluating for skill. Bullshit. To correct hiring mistakes, Riot has a program called Q Dodge. New hires who are deemed cultural mismatches can receive 10% of their annual salary, up to $25,000 if they leave. Ew. That's bullshit. In an interview with Variety published last week, Riot co-founder Mark Merle explained, "It is drilled into our employees that our player focus is the thing we aspire to be our North Star," adding, "That's why we hire gamers and only gamers, because the difference between a great decision and a terrible one is how it relates to players." In a statement sent to Kotaku, Riot said that to ensure our aspirational culture becomes a reality and isn't lost in translation, we must over-index on cultural reinforcement, adding that we believe hiring gamers is critical to our success. I keep fucking headbutting my mic. Preferencing Riot's definition of core gamers during hiring means drawing in employees from a larger pool of men than women. Probably because more men play League than women? Question mark? Avid players of MOBAs, multiplayer online battle arena games, a genre encompassing popular games including League of Legends and Dota 2, and pretty much that's it. You got Smite, but like It's mostly those two. And first-person shooter fans are typically men. Whoa, 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 whoa. Where did you go? Avid players of MOBAs. League of Legends, right? So Riot Games. And first-person shooter fans are typically men. Where the fuck did you go? In the same fucking sentence. ADHD as fuck, I can tell I am ADHD. I'm reading this like a dyslexic child, and I'm like, yes, this totally makes sense. This backwards-ass sentence. Game data company Quantic Foundry surveyed over 270,000 gamers worldwide between July 2015 and January 2017 on what game titles that they enjoy playing, and reported that only 10% of gamers who play MOBAs are female. Hard pickings then, aren't you? Yeah. For first-person shooters, why does it matter? Why does it matter if you play first-person shooters? There are some really shitty ones out there. Like, it's not... Okay, so if I play a first-person shooter, right? Does that make me a core gamer? It should not. Absolutely zero. That should never be your definite... That means if you're a Call of Duty fanboy, you are a core gamer. Are you fucking proud of yourself? I'm disappointed. And I've been playing video games since I was 5. Without examining why these gamer genres are heavily male, I don't know, probably because the inherent aversion towards violence that females typically exhibit, whereas men are drawn to it. Just saying, like, most people don't like seeing blood. Like, okay, Gears of War. There are definitely some hard-ass women who love that game. But not everyone will be drawn to play that game because of how much gore is involved. It's a good game, and it's also a third-person over-the-shoulder shooter, but that's irrelevant. But you get my point. Riot's apparent job candidate expectations can create a very stratified workplace where women who are less likely to be mega fans of these games, fucking mega fan, okay, are considered lesser rioters because of the way they grew up. Yo, that's brutal. That's savage as fuck. Several women interviewed by Kotaku said that even after getting hired, they felt that they were not taken seriously by colleagues or managers because they weren't steeped into the competitive online gaming tradition. Okay, 10 out of 10. Most of these fucking... I guarantee you these rioters suck. Actually, you know what? I have proof of this. I have played with them in League of Legends. I will tell you, not every rioter is good at these games. Don't let them fool you. Don't let the image of these rioters, necessarily say, oh, well, we are the best at this game. After all, we do develop it. No, some of them fucking suck. I remember one of them was like, what, Silver 5 when I played with him? Oh my god, I don't remember his name, which is good because, yeah. Oh, good times. League of Legends player base, which in 2012 was over 90% male, has earned a reputation for its rampant sexist language that Riot has proactively addressed over the last few years by taking away the community tribunal. Fuck you guys. Anecdotal evidence suggests that women who play League of Legends have been regular targets of harassment, and data from Riot indicates that new players encountering toxic behavior are 320% less likely to return to the game. I hope this is all of your data, not every person is 320% less likely to... Okay. Yeah. See, now this is kind of why citing sources is important. I would like to see that data. In 2016, Riot surveyed its own employees to study the correlation between in-game and workplace toxicity. Turns out that rioters who received complaints about their in-game behavior were also awful to work with. Rioters get reported. Ooh. Mark Merle's gonna come down on you. According to that study, which... Hang on, let's see if that exists. Yes, it does. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. They have their own shit. Now, they say in this article it's Riot Games assessing toxicity, but like, how did you, where is your, where's, where's any of your study? Ah, research has shown. I see. So this wasn't even like a it was like, yeah, this is a case study. Doesn't count. Not with this few fucking shit. Like there's hardly anything here. No way. Anyway, back to this. Let's see here. According to that study, 25% of employees let go between 2015 and 2016 had unusually high in-game toxicity. Unusually high. That's gotta be a lot, considering most people consider this the most toxic game in the industry. I'd be kind of interested to see what that entails. Let's see. Riot says it doesn't define core gamers as MOBA and first-person shooter players, which several sources with knowledge of Riot's recruitment practices who have also been interviewed for positions at Riot Dispute? Riot Dispute. At Riot Dispute. What is this statement? What is that? Okay. One former Riot employee who presented as a woman, for example, has always played role-playing games and said as much during their 2014 phone interview for a position at Riot, not at all adjacent to game development. Hold the phone. There's a lot of fragments in this goddamn sentence, and I'm trying to ascertain what the fuck is being said. One former Riot employee who presented as a woman, assuming she presented herself as a woman, for example, okay, has always played role-playing games, and said as much during the 2014 phone interview for a position at Riot. There's no ending comma here. Not at all adjacent to games development. Okay, that's not a sentence. The interviewer then asked if they played real games like Call of Duty. Kill yourself. Oh my god, real games like Call of Duty. I have never heard a more elitist and more absolutely fucking dumbass statement by somebody who self-proclaims as a gamer. I could imagine this coming from a 14 or 15-year-old prepubescent and angry fucking teenager, but not a person who claims to have authority over what is a real gamer and who works at one of the greatest American companies that has made one single game. In this case, that's why Blizzard doesn't count, because this has made more than one game. In the end, he asked, if someone just met you, how would they know you're a gamer? What? Who the fuck? Who the fuck asked that? How would they know you're a gamer? I don't know, by asking me, you shit? Do you enjoy playing games? And I said, well, I'm looking at my TV right now that has 16 game consoles plugged into it. Yeah, that's a fucking good answer. Yeah, I mean, it's fucking right? When asked about this trend, Riot acknowledged in its statement that it actively seeks hardcore video game enthusiasts. Okay, are you gonna just start repeating yourself over and over again? Because this article is long as shit, but I'm starting to see like there's like about 3 themes that are coming up. Riot tries to hire hardcore game enthusiasts. Women don't necessarily fit Riot's image of a game enthusiast. Here we are. I guarantee you I'm gonna be right by the end. We found the very best way to hire rioters is to hire gamers, the company said. While not every rioter is a gamer, most are. And to be clear, this doesn't mean just League of Legends. Okay. A rioter speaks to the language of players and can relate to them in ways that could never be learned on the job. I really hope that that rioters have the ability to speak to employees like employees and not like gamers or like buddies. It's nice to be friends with your coworkers, but by no means is that a requirement, nor should it be. We pride ourselves on player empathy. Bullshit. Whether that's related to the fun players are having with a new game mode. Bullshit. Bull fucking shit. Players are having fun with a new game mode. Said no one fucking ever. You know how I know? Because Earth is one of the single most gutted game modes ever since it fucking went out of cycle the second time around. It's only been all random Earth ever since. So, and by the way, I'm pretty sure only about 25 to 30 fucking champions make it into that rotation. So, yeah, I'm gonna call fucking bullshit. You're just upset because nobody wanted to play your game for what it is, and they all wanted to just come in and play Earth, you sons of bitches. Or understanding the pain they're feeling with a nerf gone too far. I've never seen these sorts of phrases applied to male hires. Well, I can't wait to find out what those are. A former female employee told Kotaku that she was asked, "How big is your e-peen?" What is that? How big is your e-penis? It really shouldn't. That shouldn't be a. That's a trick question. You really shouldn't answer that like, "Yeah, I've got like the biggest e-peen." Like, you really shouldn't answer that honestly. Who was questioning her over her gaming habits. Another former Riot employee who is passionate about tabletop games says she was told by an interviewer that her gaming preferences meant she wouldn't be considered a gamer at Riot. Another woman who was interviewing for a position far removed from games or game development said she felt like she wasn't being taken seriously because instead of playing League of Legends, she casually played World of Warcraft. That's because Blizzard is a competing business. So, like, can you imagine? They seem to have a little bit of a bias against Blizzard. Have you noticed? A few months into her employment, she felt that her suspicions were confirmed at a 2016 Global Riot conference talk by a senior producer. Here at Riot Games, we hire gamers. I've heard this, yeah. He said in his talk to an audience of Riot employees. Oh, wow, I'm pretty sure they were all sitting there like, he's talking to me, guys. Look at that. He's talking to me. If you're not a core gamer, you need to over-index in another area. Whether it's finance, development, facilities, player support, he says, I don't give a shit. Let's see, now that's how you know he's a goddamn professional. He said shit in a conference. You're better if you're a gamer. Yeah, gross. For 6 minutes, the producer recounted a story of his experience preparing to raid the original World of Warcraft Naxxramas dungeon. Ew. Ew. I'm sorry, but I'm just thinking about this. Like, can you imagine taking your gaming life so goddamn seriously that you compare a business in which you are a financial producer for like the company and you recount a story meant to inspire your employees of preparing for a World of Warcraft raid? You're such a fucking loser. It was 300 hours of raiding into his game, and he detailed the effort, the passion, and the grit it took him to attain the opportunity. And then before the raid, his internet died and he let down his team. Man, you could just fucking call up somebody else to raid with you. Like, let me tell you, your level and your character is really replaceable in an RPG. I'll tell you, you're not special. The experience gave him an acid turn in his stomach. Fuck. And has become a story he's kept in his pocket for a decade. Think of your story, he demands. If you don't have one, get one. I'm serious. What the fuck? When asked about this, a Riot representative said, as we've mentioned previously, I can tell even the Riot representative is getting tired of this shit. We believe hiring gamers is critical to our success. The purpose of the 2016 talk was to underscore why hiring gamers is so critical for making best decisions for players. That anyone can be a gamer by playing games. I feel like I'm starting to get like dizzy from the use of the word gamer and games in this article. There's so much, and I can't stand it. The woman who was asked about her World of Warcraft gear said she felt like an interviewee's record wasn't as valued as their ability to fit into Riot's culture. Well, this isn't really what you've been trying as the author to impress upon us. Like that's not necessarily what you've been trying to say this whole time. She questioned what interviewers meant when they talked about culture fit. There are all these generic terms used to define things wrong with women that aren't specific, she said. When I hear she's emotional, I'd say, okay, why do you think she was being emotional? Well, she seemed to get intense and was pushing back on this thing. The other candidate did that, and you liked that because you thought he had grit. Yeah, I'm gonna side with the author on this one. That's like a terrible idea to use that word, that grit word. My ass. Why is that different? Is it because this person is a different gender? I don't know. Is it? Maybe for him? I don't know. She added, I hear people comparing two candidates of different genders, and both the candidates can be of the same caliber and interview the same way, but be described differently. Yes. Because they're different. A 2015 email about the hiring disparity written by a female employee and sent to Kotaku reads, I've heard women described as aggressive and too ambitious. See, now we're getting into some substance. Kinda. During hiring panels, rather than focus on their career skills or aptitude, I recall a lot of phrases that have given me pause, and I've never seen these sorts of phrases applied to male hires. Really? Because based on your description, I would say so. She interrupted me a lot during the phone interview. She's annoying. Or, we don't want people in this role who are ambitious because they'll want to move out of it quickly. Why do you have like a... Who? What? Why? The interviewer sounds like he's like depressed. We don't want people who are ambitious because they'll want to move out of the role quickly. What? Do you not want your fucking business to grow? What do you want? What? The emailer added that the problem gets deeper when our hiring panels are, just by the sheer result of the ratio of men to women at Riot, mostly straight white men. Riot's co-founder, Mark Merle, yay, Mark Merle, responded by suggesting that the emailer should have reacted by confronting her colleagues on those hiring panels. What did the rioters say when you pointed out how strange that feedback was to them? 3 rioters I asked about this email said it felt like Merle was focusing on the wrong thing. Whether women who had experienced or witnessed this alleged hiring bias had provided feedback rather than the inherent sexism in the interview panels themselves. Okay. I'm going to take a pause right here to explain something. Mark Merle gets this email and he reads it and says, well, what did the employees say when you basically confronted them about their behavior? And then the 3 rioters that this author then asked said, well, Merle's focusing on the wrong thing. He shouldn't be wondering about the feedback. He should be upset that there exists this sexism. Here's the thing. When you run, or when you're a co-founder of a company this large, the little things matter very little. You have people for that. As top-down hierarchies end up going, you will delineate duties and responsibilities to the people below you. So, when he asks, how did my underlings, your managers, how did they respond? He is looking to teach or build his team in a better way. So instead of waiting for a co-founder, let's say a top dog, to be upset, why not just answer his goddamn question? You may still get what you want, just answer the goddamn question. One woman who left the Riot in 2016 said, it seemed like he assumed she would respond, oh, I didn't say anything, and then he could blame her for that. No, he would ask you why you didn't say anything, and now I have to go do it. Like, exactly what I just said. Again. When I read that email to one current rioter, he interpreted it as such. It's putting the blame on people who don't confront the sexist behavior for the continuation of the sexist behavior. The ethical duty should lie with the organization and not with the marginalized people to solve that problem. Absolutely not. No, absolutely not. You must take responsibility of yourself. Absolutely not. It is not the duty of some other company or some business to handle how you are necessarily treated. If you are treated poorly in a situation, stand up for yourself. You stand up for yourself and you defend yourself. And if somebody from the company tries to crack down on you, then you stand up for yourself in front of the fucking company. And then, if that part doesn't get handled the way it is, look at you now. You have been reporting, apparently, for the past 5 months on this issue. And, you know, this was in your back pocket the whole time, and you had to know, the author, I mean you as in all of these people who are involved in this situation. All of these people who are involved with the situation, you know what kind of effect, what kind of impact a story like this is going to have. There's no way in hell that you can be ignorant of what you are putting out. So if that company were to then crack down on you for defending yourself in light of any kind of sexism, what are they going to say? First of all, you end up being a martyr for the cause, and you end up being a hero to those who are in similar positions. So absolutely, your job is to fucking stand up for yourself. The marginalized people should stand and defend themselves in the wake of sexist behavior, racist behavior, etc. However, you should be careful that you're not perceiving things necessarily a little too, biased. No, that's a different thing, and I want to stick with the other thing I said and make that the main focus. A label does not excuse people to behave in an ineffective manner. What the fuck? Okay. In an email, a Riot representative said, we absolutely hold people accountable to bad behavior. But if we don't know about issues, we can't address them. I fucking told you so! So we do rely on rioters to be brave enough to call out that behavior either directly or through other channels. Fucking nailed it. Diversity and inclusion initiatives at Riot are led by a woman named I'm not gonna be able to do that one. She's been at Riot for over 2.5 years. Also, same thing. A while ago, we're just gonna mark this real quick. But earlier you were talking about how Lacey made it her mission to hire a woman into a leadership role. Female candidates weren't Riot material, and then we've got, whoever this person was leading a thing. Yeah, the leader of diversity and inclusion initiatives. Yep, not sure what you're trying to say anymore. She's been at Riot for over 2.5 years, and previously worked at a nonprofit that helped women make games. Good for you. Her job, she told Kotaku on the phone interview earlier this year, is to help Riot think about diversity and inclusion holistically and thoughtfully. How about effectively? When I asked why Riot hired her, she said the world is changing. With a lot of women feeling less faith in the video games industry overall, the more we were like, we need an outlet for minorities and representatives of minorities to make sure every decision worth making is doing right by everyone. Wait, but you can't do that in a business. Like you'll need to make hard decisions. That's kind of it's kind of how business works. So you can't do right by everyone. I mean, it's a novel idea and it's a good thing to try and do, but you can't promise that. Before El Sabawi was in charge, Riot ran definitely not sexual harassment training, a glib League of Legends themed take on California's mandatory supervisor training, which several sources Kotaku interviewed thought was dismissive. There was a mode called Definitely Not Dominion, which is a riff on Riot's Dominion mode. But what was it, though? You just leaving this set. El Sabawi oversees a small committee of rioters who focus some of their efforts on diversity. They do bias training, they evaluate their job candidate recruiting sources, they're partnering with diversity-minded nonprofits. When I first asked her what the balance of men to women is at Riot as a whole, and whether that's changed during her tenure, we're working on getting better data. Working on getting better data or changing data to suit what you want. 2 months later, after sources gave Kotaku data on Riot employees' gender makeup, 80% male, I asked El Sabawi whether these stats have changed over the last few years. She said we're working on getting better data for last year, this year, moving forward. What does that mean? Working on getting better data for last year. What does that mean? I thought you had given data. We've always been around 20%. It hasn't gone up or down significantly. But out of that, Riot doesn't have reliable data from before then. What is that? Do you even hire people the proper way? Do you even have them filling out taxes? What the fuck's wrong with you people? And how now? How now does Riot have a good fucking system for keeping their employees in check? You're not even owned by American company anymore. You're owned by Tencent now, a Chinese fucking multi-million-dollar company. So what the fuck were you doing? Riot does not have quotas for hiring women in leadership position, and they shouldn't. But they do ask for generally diverse candidate pools. Well, that's fine. You can have diverse candidate pools, just don't pull for any specific hiring quota. That sounds reasonable and fair. El Sabawi is also helping run mandatory interviewer training. When you're interviewing someone, if they are very similar to you or different from you, here are the kind of biases you can experience it without even realizing it. Is that you like somebody who's like you and you don't like somebody who's not? Oh man, I needed training for that. Maybe they say one thing you really like, so you like everything else they say. We explicitly talk about how this is especially true when it comes to demographics. When someone is visually different from you, your brain can trick you to think different things about them based on stereotypes or biases that might just unconsciously appear. Oh, does that mean, Miss El Sabawi, that you look at white people and think we're racist? And think that we have unconscious biases that make us racist? El Sabawi says the Riot leadership is also trying to pivot on what they mean when they say core gamer. You haven't even actually defined it to begin with. You tried to say it was MOBAs and first-person shooters, but then you said Riot doesn't think that. She says she wants to make sure there's no PC master race bullshit happening here. But you can't play League on a console. Referencing the tribalistic term that many hardcore PC gamers have used to establish elitism over other types of video game fans. Yeah, and? In 2016, internal talk by a Riot producer, that producer made loud proclamations about the PC master race to enthusiastic applause. And that's okay. God, like, that amount of tribalism is okay. That's playful banter. Like, everyone knows why things exist that way. That's why these consoles will make exclusive games. We just prefer PC. What do you want? Kimberly Vole, a senior technical designer at Riot, who has a PhD in computer science. Oh, Mia, I want to know what your doctorate is, actually. Because I want to know what kind of stuff you were thinking about. Because you've worked in gaming for 20 years, so that might give me some ideas. Told me that Riot didn't need to ask whether she was a hardcore gamer. I'm a hardcore gamer. I've been playing games since the 70s. Nailed it. Vole, who has sat on a lot of panels interviewing potential employees, says she's never encountered what looks like a hyper-targeted questioning towards female candidates, but still says she's working to improve the interviewing process generally. That would make me really sad if that were the case, she said when I described some of the interview scenarios that other sources told me they'd experienced. Certainly I've never seen that kind of behavior among my coworkers, and none of the interviews I've conducted. And lo and behold, by the way, let's chalk it up to another one. Another woman in a leadership role? Training interviewers to look at actual record and fact rather than bravado. That's what we're focusing on. I fucking hope so. Fact and record is good. Bravado is fakeable. Riot's leadership is dominated by men. Okay. Apparently not, by the way, based on the fact that all of your interviewers and diversity people seem to be women. So, what are we talking about? At the top of the company are co-founders Brandon Beck and Mark Merle. And both of whom who in late 2017 stepped down from heading leadership to be more hands-on with games, along C-suite executives including CEO Nicolo Laurent. Below them is a 23-person senior leadership team that consists of 21 men, according to a Riot representative. Then there are other leads of disciplines, products, etc. What does that mean? Senior leadership team, right? And then there are other leads. Not apparently in the senior leadership team. Oksana Kubushina is... Yes, let's go with that. Is Riot's head of platform and most senior woman at Riot. Okay, now we're at 4. The only woman at Riot's 23-person senior leadership team until June 2018, when Laura DeYoung became head of art. 5. Kubushina told me that Riot began paying more attention to diversity and inclusion in its hiring process about 9 months ago. So, what? We're talking November... So about when Kotaku started investigating, by your own admission? In job descriptions, hiring leaders remove the word ninja, as in code ninja, because seniors at Riot believed it might intimidate or deter female candidates. Who the fuck? Okay. See, now, for the most part, I have been behind the author in agreement for most of this article. Besides my nitpicking on sentence structure and her flipping from ideas and repeating herself for about 4 sections. I have been behind them for most of this time. But how do you believe that ninja is going to deter women? Kubushina explained men and women interview differently. Men tend to pat themselves on the back and over-exaggerate. Women tend to downplay their accomplishments. Ooh, sounds like somebody's been reading some Demore, have you? Ooh, edgy. Training interviewers to look at actual record and fact rather than bravado, that's what we're focusing on. When I described El Sabawi's and Kubushina's efforts to rioters familiar with the company's recruiting practices, one said, "In the end, you can disguise a pig with lipsticks, but it's still a pig man." He believes that long-held ideas about who belongs at Riot are too entrenched to be fixable by interview training. Repeated acknowledgments about the desire for change on rewriting Riot's job description and website copy, the theme I've heard from many people interviewed for this article, is consistent. This is a cultural problem. I can't agree with you. because you've been catching yourself in your own. I mean, you're proving a point, and then you bring in a female leadership person who you think is going to like solidify your point, but it only proves that there's women in leadership then, and you've been doing it for so many pages at this point. Riot looks for aggressiveness and passion in potential employees and rewards them during evaluations. Stay hungry, stay humble, reads Riot's manifesto. The fact that they have a manifesto, I mean, we help each other improve by being open and honest, even when it hurts. What that can look like in practice, over a dozen sources say, is meetings in which the loudest person in the room, usually a man, is the most heard. You should try banging on things as women. It quite works. Or just like dropped like a coffee cup on a table, or just hit it a little too hard, and that's quite a good way to get people to look at you funny. Women at Riot interviewed by Kotaku say that they are or were constantly talked over by men in meetings, which some employees estimate comprise up to half of the rioters' workdays. And when they do stand up for their ideas, abiding by Riot's manifesto, they can be punished. Former player relations specialist Kristen Fuller, 6, who left in March, said she got talked over a lot. It's hard to get a word in edgewise, she said. And I've been talking to somebody else, starts talking, and then starts to talk louder when I don't stop. A lot of men don't take no for an answer. This is a common thread that I hear quite a bit, is that these men will talk over one another and talk over women. There are people out there who have the ability to talk over one another and actually understand and listen to the other people talking. I notice this a lot from people who live in New York, New Jersey, where I used to live. Most people could talk at each other at the dinner table. Passing by, you would think that there's a major argument going on, but in fact everyone is just talking at the same time, and they're not listening to themselves, they're listening to you, and then you're not listening to yourself, you're listening to me. It's a very odd thing, but I notice it mostly about the people from the north. I'm not saying that's what's happening here, but the very simple thing is just don't stop, just keep going. If they have an issue, then you just stop answering them and then go, I'm sorry, I already said it, you should have been paying attention. This is a hard thing for people to do because they are concerned for their job, which is fair, but I mean, what would you prefer? Respect at your job or job security? You can have both, by the way. Another former employee says her majority male division, often derided her when she turned down secretarial work, like adjusting the temperature or changing the office appearance, despite her non-secretary job. I feel like that type of working environment caters to men, she said. I'm sorry? She turned down secretarial work, like adjusting the temperature or changing the office's appearance. I feel like that type of working environment caters to... I see. When I went to a stand-up meeting, it'd be a lot of men talking over each other, which proves it's not a sexist thing, by the way. I knew a lot of women were used to being interrupted or not feeling comfortable talking over men. Don't be. I didn't feel like I had the ability to talk over them, she said. Her more introverted nature made her feel like a doormat at Riot, she said, until the day she quit in 2016. People could say whatever they wanted to in public to each other, even if it weren't constructive. Well, yeah. In meetings, people would say awful things to each other. The idea is terrible, being super aggressive. When she quit, she said she was too angry or scared to say goodbye to her colleagues. Now she won't even drive by Riot's campus anymore. That's that may be a window into what they mean by some of the sexism. Somebody in meetings, people would say awful things to each other. That idea is terrible. Only certain people would get offended when their idea is shot down. Some people will take it as utter defeat. Other people will then take it, rework it, and make it better. Which one are you? I've seen myself argue endlessly for the value of something and for that thing never to be taken seriously until a man or a player said it. Well, I'm gonna hold my thought for a second. Over a dozen women and 3 men across different disciplines at Riot agreed that women were regularly spoken over by louder male voices, and in an email, a Riot representative said Riot does not value aggressiveness and extroversion as part of our culture. In May 2016, an internal email chain obtained by Kotaku circulated about how to run meetings that are fair to women, introverts, and remote workers in a climate that rewards extroversion. 2 people employed by Riot at the time described Mark Merle's response to the issue of aggression in meeting as alarmingly out of touch. Oh, maybe Mark's not such a bad guy after all. How much left do we have of this? Yikes. Okay. I'm a hold it there, because holy shit. I've already been going on for an hour. And this isn't even... this is about halfway done. What the fuck? Okay. I'm gonna give a little... What's the word? I'll give a prediction for the rest of it. Gamers. Women don't have the same opportunities. Women feel uncomfortable. Male-dominated society. Bad. More or less. I'll go through the rest of it, but I can almost guarantee it's gonna be more of the same. I cannot. Yeah, I can't imagine it's gonna change. But let's quickly get a verdict on this one. So Riot did respond to this in a public statement. That statement I'll link down below, but essentially it says that we accept all this and we are going to work to try and fix it. Okay. Well, you're going to have to show for it. And honestly, you'll never be able to show for it. It's not feasible, really, because people won't stand up for themselves at Riot's meetings, it looks like. And, I mean, let's be honest for a second. Riot hasn't actually cared what the player has thought for quite some time. That's why don't ever ask them for how many accounts exist. Ask for how many concurrent players they have. That is a true number for how popular the game is. I almost guarantee you will find a small downswing as of recently because of the oversaturation of niche characters being added and questionable balance changes made by the company, apparently according to this article, because the players want it. Bullshit. I have probably said bullshit probably about 25 times reading this article, just based on the claims that Riot have made for themselves. Look, if you guys want to make a difference in game culture, right? 1, stop putting them in fucking California. It's a feigned elitist area, right? I'm on the East Coast. Do you think I have a hope in the world with moving to California to work for a game company? Absolutely not. Do we all know what kind of demographics exist in California? Mostly Democrats. What do we think about Democrats working in a system that is for games? Probably not good. If we're going to, just take, for example, how Google and Facebook and Twitter run their businesses. Like, monetarily, they do great, but ethically and other such morals that companies should have, they don't do so hot. So let's change that, right? Let's change that. If you are a person who is considering getting into game design, Bethesda's on the East Coast. Go work for them. Make them big. Get them start working on better projects. I would love to see people getting really into all of, getting game companies throughout the country. I am sick and tired of seeing everything happen in California. And honestly, California's not going a good way. Almost no one actually believes that California is doing well. Silicon Valley and Riot Games and some of the fucking things that are happening in Blizzard as well. There's a lot of questionable behaviors going on. So if you guys really want to change something, let's start changing things. So if you're a software developer, you want to game design, all that kind of stuff, start trying to apply to places elsewhere. Build their company, make them more desirable than these guys. But for now, I'm going to leave it here because, man, this article is long. So I'm going to leave it there, and I will see you guys very, very soon. Bye bye.